Hi, Pocket. In this video, I let a monkey grab my cat. Evil times. In Monster Hunter Wilds, when you hunt a specific monster 20, 30, 40, and 50 times, you are given a title. These titles do nothing mechanically, but socially they're as endgame as it gets. I mean, who doesn't want to hold the title Blaze Grappler? I'll be hunting them all in this fashion, 50 of each. This time, I'm hunting Ajarakan, who I affectionately call Fire Monkey. Ajarakan unlocks the titles Ajarakan, Grappler, Heat, and Blaze. Before starting the hunts, I already hunted 9 Ajarakan, but I'll still be hunting another 50 up to 59. Charge Blade again, locked and loaded for Fire Ape destruction. Ajarakan can spawn in 2 areas, Wyveria or the Oilwell Basin, where it's introduced in the story. Wyveria is cool, but much like I discovered with Nursilla, when it's on its home turf, the Oilwell Basin, Ajarakans have special moves and interactions with the environment. Because of this, I tried to avoid fighting them elsewhere when I could. The main unique mechanic shows up when Ajarakan is in one of the areas with the bars and pipes up above, which appears in areas 6 and 7. Ajarakan, like a good fire monkey, knows how to climb the monkey bars, and gains a new move where it'll jump up there and swing after the hunter before jumping down with a slam. This is a nice mix-up to its usual attacks, but makes this wingless, fanged beast susceptible to flash pods, just like everyone else. Additionally, in any of the areas where there's all the oil pooling on the ground here, Ajarakan's moves can light it on fire. It doesn't look great because my graphics are kinda phooey, but it's cool to see a monster's attacks genuinely creating effects on the environment. Those little vents that shoot up can also turn into baby volcanoes, like they do at the restaurants where they cook in front of you, you know? With the little onion volcano thingies. I'm hungry. There's also the unique environmental stuff in the Oilwell Basin, like this gigantic multi-piston that they got from Minecraft. So satisfying just to, boom, punch monsters with this thing. It feels really iconic to the area too. I love the Oilwell Basin. It might be my favorite map. Living up to that 4th title, Grappler, Ajarakan can do a little shoulder check and then grab the hunter. As far as I know, this is the first monster in the story we encounter with a grab. These aren't too common, and they can be escaped by either shooting it in the face with throwing knives or pods, or simply knifing your way out. As long as you spam the knife button, triangle on controller, you should be safe. Something I didn't know about grabs though is that they can affect the palico too. The first time I saw this, I was quick to get my palico free, but I wanted to see the whole animation on display, so the next time it happened, I let Ajarakan finish the move, and then felt so horrible and guilty and vengeful. Evil fire monkey. Ajarakan also has tons of moves that, when guarded, will transition straight into a power clash. I got more power clashes fighting this monster than I've ever had before, simply blocking its punches every now and again. There weren't many hunts that went by without at least one clash, so it can be really useful if your weapon has access to guarding. Going through these 50 hunts, I usually end up picking up some new general tricks, and this time it's about sharpening. I brought a raw damage paralysis charge blade to this one, and I liked the weapon, but its sharpness was a lot more lacking than my previous one. This meant I hit blue way quicker and more often, and I didn't want to spend a ton of time sharpening or running to my secret to sharpen or invest a bunch of points in speed sharpening. Thankfully, I picked up a new trick. Normally, when using the Whetstone, it does 3 passes, 1, 2, 3, shing, and that little shing at the end signifies a big boost to your sharpness. This is what speed sharpening helps with. It reduces the amount of passes you have to do with the Whetstone before getting to that nice bonus shing at the end, which is also necessary for activating skills like Protective Polish. What I never thought about is utilizing specifically those first 3 passes. If the hunter's sharpness isn't terribly low, it doesn't take a lot of time to commit to a single pass with the Whetstone to bring it back up, especially if the monster is given the hunter an opening to do so. Using this trick, I was able to keep my sharpness a lot higher than usual, and even though this weapon doesn't have a lot of white sharpness to it, I spent a lot more time fighting in white sharpness because of this. Staying at high sharpness is important because there's a raw damage and elemental damage multiplier dependent on what level of sharpness you're at. Going down a level in sharpness can greatly impact damage output. On top of that, having low sharpness can make the weapon eventually bounce off monster parts, unless the hunter has Mind's Eye, which prevents attacks from bouncing off entirely. There's a lot of skills that work with sharpening, even past things like speed sharpening and protective polish, even some that incentivize lower sharpness levels, so it's a little complicated and deserves its own video at some point probably, but learning and utilizing this tech, the initial passes of the Whetstone, is really cool and fun. It's a budget way to work around not having any speed sharpening investing in your build, or with a weapon that doesn't have a lot of great sharpness. In Ajarakan's default state, its torso will glow like this. This doesn't mean it's enraged, more so empowered, a bit like Zinogre, how it has those two different functions. While glowing, a lot of its attacks have additional effects. The double arm slam will have a chain of volcanic blasts that come forward, its shoulder slides will splash lava, and the ranged attack throws a volley of fireballs instead of a single meatball. It will wear off over time, or if attacked enough, and this will stagger it out of the state for a nice damage opening. But if you're struggling with this, simply attacking or waiting isn't your only option. Regardless of where Ajarakan is, be it in Wyveria or the basin, there's always going to be some sort of puddle pods around that you can grab. After firing this into the glowing bits, we can see a bit of steam rising off the monster and it cools off, immediately taking that empowerment effect off. This makes it a lot easier and safer when dealing with most of Ajarakan's moves. I was tipped off to this because of the helpful tips section in the monster field guide. Normal ammo and arrows will melt if you try to pierce their molten carapaces, so you must use heat-resistant equipment or use them with water moss to bring down their temperature first. The characteristics section even has a note about the monkey bars I mentioned earlier. They can also use their strong limbs to grip onto the ceiling and move around freely, so a hunter must watch out from every angle, including above. That's another reason I love these sections of the monster field guide. There's so much information in the game to help the player prepare for a hunt that going online to look up guides almost feels redundant to me sometimes. They did a fantastic job making this game feel lived in and real, like there's other hunters' notes or even my own to ready oneself. Because of this, I went back later and tested out the bowgun, and it seems like there is points on Ajarakan's body during the glow where it will melt down normal ammo and just take 0 damage. This is a really cool touch, and it genuinely doesn't come up that much when firing on Ajarakan with this ammo, so it definitely doesn't completely invalidate these guns and strategies. I also tested whether or not water ammo could produce the same cooling effect as the puddle pods, and it doesn't seem like it. Maybe it's a different kind of water or something that the water's used in the water ammo, it's distilled, but the puddle pods are like nasty puddle water. I'm not sure. Either way, because of Ajarakan's weakness to water, it just gets destroyed by the stuff anyway, so it might not cancel out the empowered glowing status, but it kills the monster. An inventory of water ammo, and this guy is seeing stars regardless. Trying these things out with heavy bowgun made me remember how fun it is and how strong it is, and I just wish I could shoot wounds like that with every weapon. Ajarakan will often dig its hands into the ground and stance up. This is a signal for one of two things, either a big loud roar or a giant fire blast that shows its weak point. The way we can tell which of these is going to happen is by whether Ajarakan's tail is smacking against its back or not. If it's going to roar, the tail will start clapping. 1, 2, 3, roar. And then along the way, you're free to swing on the monster, flash it, or focus strike it out of it if you want. If the tail isn't smacking, it means the big fire blast is coming, so it'd be a good idea to get out of the way. Ajarakan can't really turn when it's doing this move, so it's very easy to sidestep, and you have a lot of time. Even enough to sharpen a little if you want. If it does happen to hit you though, sweet agony. After the big explosion, the weak point will appear right here on Ajarakan's arm for easy grabbing, another big opening. As far as I saw, This is the only time Ajarakan's weak point shows up, and the weak point itself regenerates fairly quickly, so every time I saw one do this move, I always saw the weak point, even if I was able to grab it the last time. Every time I see monsters with really frequent weak points like this, like with Ray Dowd's face, I always imagine how fun it would be to be using heavy bowgun and just holding that snipe waiting. So satisfying, that weapon's so fun. There is one move that's probably the deadliest in Ajarakan's arsenal, and what I consider to be its ultimate attack. The Sonic Spin Dash of Fiery Obliteration EX Savage Burning Death. For this one, Ajarakan spins up, and if the hunter is with Ajarakan during this point, it will simply rip their health bar right then and there. After a delay, Ajarakan shoots up into the air to do a slam down in the lava and guts and bleh, I'm dead, bleh. A tough move to dodge as Ajarakan can adjust to where the hunter goes. It can be blocked, of course, but it's once more solved by my favorite obnoxious DM trump card, the Flash Pod. Unlike with Flying Wyverns, Ajarakan won't lay on the ground for a really long time, so it's not a great opening, but an opening nevertheless, made in place of a giant explosion. Not bad, I'd say, not bad. This is a tough monster, and I remember struggling with it a lot the first time I fought it in the story. It's definitely got some raw Zhang energy, and it uses that in some of its attacks, leaving fewer openings in general for the hunter to go off and go crazy. Fanged beast power, I guess. Strangely, however, Ajarakan's the only fanged beast in Wilds right now who cannot provide the hunter with beast gems. At a similar rarity, it offers the Ajarakan Medulla, which is sort of like a gem of its own, but because the rarity of the material is so low, it doesn't get the little sparkle animation on it, which is just devastating, really. It makes me feel like it's less valuable. Ajarakan doesn't deserve that. Ajarakan deserves more. It has a turf war with Rompopolo that I got to see, where it literally squeezes that little mosquito bug until it deflates. Especially after seeing Blangonga fling around Hirobami last episode, I think Fanged Beasts might give my favorite turf wars. They're always so brutal with the way that they throw around other monsters and manhandle them. It's a great display of their raw strength and speed. So cool, I love them. In the end, these hunts took me 5 hours, 31 minutes, and 30 seconds, which equals out to around 6 minutes and 38 seconds per hunt. I gathered 256 scales, 102 ridges, 48 tails, 242 carapaces, 119 jewels, 113 certificates, 19 marrow, and 26 medullas. But most importantly, the titles Ajarakan, Grappler, Heat, and Blaze, that I may become Blaze Grappler, the Power Clash King. I was originally scared to try out Charge Blade for these two, but the weapon is so brutally strong that even in my clumsy hands, it worked out. Through these Ajarakan hunts, I was really starting to pick up weaving into the guard points more consistently and getting to my stronger elemental discharges quicker than usual. There's still a lot I have to learn with the weapon and stuff I wasn't utilizing, like the sword buff. I didn't activate that very often, so I'm excited to return to it along the way. But for the next 2 episodes of the 50 Hunts series, I'll be switching it up again. This comment by our resident Lance Main, Yannick Gallant 1562, recommended it for either of the cephalopods, and something tells me that I've got one of these in my future. Thank you for your suggestion. Because of this, I'll be using Lance next. Is there a weapon you'd like to see? Maybe I've already used it in the 50 Hunt series. Does Ajarakan deserve a gem? And why is the answer yes? Let me know. Thank you for watching, fellow hunters. See you soon, good luck, and goodbye.